Real life sports is thrilling because we don't know what will happen. We pick sides and rally behind one team, but we don't know the athletes on a personal level. We don't know their morals and values. We don't know what they have at stake in every match they play. All we really care about is the outcome, the win or the lose. In a sports anime, the outcome is obvious. To drive the story forward, the protagonist needs to succeed. They can lose a few times, but they have to come back stronger. They cannot fail, or else there is no story. So to circumnavigate this, we get to know the characters on a deeper level and understand what it means to them when they get to play the sport they love. The stakes are not placed in the win-loss anymore, it is placed in the characters themselves, their ideologies and how it may clash with their opponents. In Haikyuu, the second time Karasuno faces Aoba Johsai, we know that Karasuno is going to win. They must, or else there won't be a story to tell anymore. So to keep the suspense high and make the stakes matter, episode 24 of the second season is written from Aoba Johsai's perspective, specifically Oikawa's. We get to know what this match means to him and we get to see and feel everything as Aoba Johsai would. On first viewing, it's almost unnoticeable, but there's always been something that seems slightly off about this episode to me, and I think I've figured it out. The episode is called the Absolute Limit Switch. It's referring to both teams switching gears and bringing out the absolute maximum they have. But I also think, and this may be a bit of a stretch, it could also be referring to the writers and composers pushing the limits of storytelling. Through sound and music and a lot of expectation subverting, we are slowly drawn into Aoba Johsai's side, and before we know it, the stakes are high and we don't want Oikawa and his team to lose. The first example of how music is used to draw us in comes after the OP. Team potential plays and it's a simple setup. For about 2 minutes both teams try to one-up each other, a montage of points that is halted when Hinata scores a 506. The music stops and we hear Karasuno cheer. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but Karasuno's points are not celebrated. We see Yahaba slam his fist and we can feel his disappointment. At 5:25, a black team plays. The reference to Karasuno is obvious. They are the black team, a murder of crows, the outcasts. But it could also refer to the dark horses, to Aoba Johsai. By default, we know we should be cheering for Karasuno because they have been our protagonists up to this point. But this song creates ambiguity. It makes you feel okay about cheering for Aoba Johsai because at this point there's no real threat of Karasuno losing. In fact, at Kageyama's expense, Aoba Johsai gets to 21st, but the music keeps up, and we feel like we're riding the momentum with Aoba Johsai. We don't even get a moment to feel Kageyama's disappointment as he hits the floor, but we do get to feel Watary's disappointment as the song wraps up at 6:35. Aoba Johsai has just conceded a point. Their momentum has stopped and so has the music. For the second time this episode, the emotional weight is carried by an Aoba Johsai player, not a Karasuno player. At 7:19, when Yamaguchi steps onto the court to serve, it isn't the former cowards fight that plays, instead, Limit Switch plays. At first, we think Yamaguchi is going to steal a whole bunch of points with his float serves again, and we almost believe it too when Mad Dog misjudges the serve and sends the ball out. In about 35 seconds, our expectation is set up and almost cemented until Iwa Izumi makes a huge save to keep the ball up. Audience expectation subverted, emotional weight carried by Aoba Johsai. He makes another huge save in the rally and Aoba Johsai go on to score the point. Kageyama ends up on the floor again, but the music keeps playing because Aoba Johsai have their momentum. Then, Iwa Izumi gets a small monologue and we realize the song is playing for him. Limit Switch is Iwa Izumi's song. At 9:07, Impatience plays just as the Karasuno coaches begin to speak. The duration of the sequence goes for about roughly 40 seconds and during this time only Karasuno gets any dialogue. It makes their words feel dishonest and portrays them as antagonists. While this is happening, the song also feels like it's building up to something dangerous. Then we realize Oikawa is that danger. He's a danger to Karasuno, but we as the audience don't feel threatened. We actually feel kind of relieved to see him. In 40 seconds, Impatience has attracted us from Karasuno's side by making them the antagonists, and lulling us onto Aoba Johsai's side by making us feel relieved to see Oikawa. At 9:44, Oikawa's serve stopped the antagonistic music. he is our protagonist this episode, so it doesn't make sense for Impatience to continue playing as he slams the ball at Karasuno, and the song has done its job. Its climax is Oikawa's serve, and when it cuts out, there is no other sound competing with the ball bouncing on the court, which only adds weight and severity to his serve. Talent and Instinct plays at 10:10. The song feels much more direct and confrontational than Impatience, like something really big is about to happen. At 10:38, we get this random shot of Shimizu holding a bunch of water bottles looking evil as heck. Not even the Aoba Johsai coaches get a shot like this, but Shimizu does. Narratively, the shot serves no purpose except to make Karasuno seem sinister. The music keeps building until it sounds like you're face to face with a final boss. Then Asahi slaps the ball at 11:22 and the music doesn't stop. It feels devastating to us, but it shouldn't. Karasuno has just scored, but it feels like a punch to the gut. At 13:32, the status quo is reset when Hinata manages to block a spike from Mad Dog. This prompts Ground Warfare to start playing, and this song is the complete opposite of Impatience and Talent and Instinct. It sounds hopeful, and it's during the sequence that Aoba Johsai finally gets speaking parts. The song is so perfectly composed to make us think Oikawa and his team are the dark horses because it makes us feel like they're about to mount a comeback. This song isn't a song that rides momentum, it's a song that starts and builds momentum. And just as we think they're going to fend off a Karasuno synchronized attack, Kageyama dumps the ball. This moment uses the exact same structure as Oikawa's serve. It stops the music to emphasize the gravity of the moment, but in this case, Kageyama's moment is not underscored by heroic music, even though this should be one of the most triumphant moments for him. He is literally looking down on Oikawa, the person he has always looked up to and compared himself to. In this very moment, there is not a doubt in Kageyama's mind that he has become the better setter, and yet this moment is viewed from Oikawa's eyes, and we get to feel his pain. Where we expect celebration and accomplishment, we get anguish and heartbreak. At 16:28, Settlement plays, and it is the perfect song to end Oikawa's arc. The song builds and builds until it plateaus and feels grounded. It's the musical reputation of Oikawa's mentality. He has worked and honed his skills, built up everything he knows, but now he has to learn to settle with his abilities and accept that no amount of hard work will overcome Kageyama's prodigious talent. But as long as he believes he will never reach his peak, then he can only grow limitlessly. He is grounded but not flightless. It's a hopeful message. Instead of giving up and resigning to inevitable defeat, he doesn't forget volleyball is a team sport and holds on to the notion that the better team will win, not the greater individual talent. In the final moments of the game at 18:40, direct confrontation is a song of choice, and it is in these final moments that the Aoba Johsai duo get their moment to shine. The music tricks us, makes us think Aoba Johsai can really win. Even when Watari botches the receive, we get an entire sequence of exchanges until the Karasuno duo step up and score the final point. Again, this follows the same structure as Oikawa's serve and Kageyama's dump, but this time when the music cuts, instead of feeling relief that Karasuno scored, what we get instead is the feeling of defeat and disappointment. We get Oikawa helplessly holding his arms out trying to receive Hinata's spike. All the emotional weight is placed on Aoba Johsai's loss, and it is heart-wrenching. Haikyuu takes full advantage of the sports anime genre and uses music to subvert the audience's expectations. Watching this episode from Karasuno's perspective feels a bit strange, a little bit off, because every song seems to play and end at odd moments for Karasuno. But from an Aoba Johsai perspective, all the songs from when they start to the exact moments they end makes sense. They antagonize Karasuno without putting Aoba Johsai on a pedestal, which creates a seamless viewing experience. In 24 minutes of screen time, the writers and composers of Haikyuu have pushed storytelling to its limits by switching the perspective the story is being told from and showing us what this game means to Oikawa. This episode serves as a reminder that there are no heroes and villains in competitive sports, only winners and losers. As compelling as one story may be, that is not the criteria for victory, and only one story can go forward.